Hello, welcome back. I never know how to start these things, but if you are here, I'm glad to have you. We're going to do a book review, short book review, trying to be spoiler free today. And I mean, you've seen the title of the video if you clicked on it. So we're going to be reviewing or talking about briefly Haruki Murakami's new novel, The City and Its Uncertain Walls, that came out in November. I received an advanced copy of this, got this for free from Knopf. Thank you, Knopf. At the time, I was going through a bit of a reading slump, trying to figure out what I wanted to read, couldn't really figure it out. So I started reading it, and then I stopped, I read some other stuff. And then I decided about maybe a little less than a week ago to come back to it. My girlfriend had read it and finished it, and she was reading some more Murakami, and I was like, this is the perfect time for me to read this, because it helped me kind of, first of all, know it was worth pushing through, because the beginning of the book kind of weird. I'm kind of like, I don't know how I feel about this. A little confusing. It stays confusing, you know. It's a sort of a philosophical book at times, a meditative book. There's some interesting like things he does with the magical realism and surrealist elements of the book that I found really interesting. I liked the ideas that he kind of explored in this work. There's some of the usual, this is my second Murakami book, but I mean, if you have heard anything about Haruki Murakami, you know that he describes women in weird ways. He's very focused on the breasts, and it wasn't so bad in this book. I previously read Killing Commendatore. That was 4.5 years ago, something like that. I think I read it in 2020, and I really liked it. That was kind of what sold me on that one. Is if you know me at all, Gatsby is my favorite book, hands down. Read it every year, at least once. Try to do it twice. And that was described as an homage to The Great Gatsby, and I could see that for sure. It's obviously it's his own thing. You can play Murakami bingo with it, which I should have done with this one. That would have been fun. I've seen people do that, hold their like Murakami bingo sheets up, and I think it's kind of interesting how like he kind of does the same sort of things over and over again, seemingly, with subtle variations. So I'm definitely interested in exploring more of his work. This definitely, I really liked this, but I think if you've already read Hard-Boiled Wonderland at the End of the World, I think is the title. This is kind of a, so there was a short story called The City and Its Uncertain Walls that was published in like 1980. And then he turned that idea into Hard-Boiled Wonderland. And then it just kept kind of eating at him. And so he came back and he went back to the kind of original story, The City and Its Uncertain Walls, from what I understand, and kind of made it into this book. It was like 100-page short story or something, and he felt like he needed to fully flesh it out, and he has sort of done that with this book. The book has 3 parts, and I think the middle part was by far my favorite. I think it was also the longest part of the book. The book's about 450 pages long, which I think is a good spot. I think I could have done with a little more, I think. I mean, I don't think it's fully underdeveloped at 450 pages, but I think had it been like 500, 550, he could have explored some more of the things in here. But it'd be interesting to go back and read Hard-Boiled Wonderland and see what he explored there. Because if, you know, I'm coming from this from the back end and potentially going back to the front, whereas kind of the book does stand alone. I want to say that the book does stand alone. Obviously, I read it, I enjoyed it, and I've seen mixed reviews of this at the very least, but I think if you like the kind of magical realism, like surrealist, like kind of slightly weird thing, you should absolutely go for it. I think it's worth it. I enjoyed it. I'm not a huge Murakami fan. I've liked both books that I've read from him at this point, but I've read his last 2 books that he's written. So from what I've heard, kind of there's like a middle period that I think maybe is supposed to be better, where he's like not doing all the weird descriptions as much, but he's also kind of not just completely regurgitating things that he's already done before. But yeah, coming to this book kind of basically by itself, I think it's worth it. And I think if you are interested in the premise at all, you should read it. But yeah, don't know what I'm going to read next. I've been looking at my shelves for 2.5 hours over the past night and this morning, and no idea. So wish me luck. But we'll find out soon.